Every lie detection method explained. Eye movement analysis. This technique is based on the idea that certain eye movements can indicate cognitive processes associated with lying. For example, looking up and to the right is sometimes associated with constructing visual imagery, potentially fabricating a story, while looking up and to the left might indicate recalling true visual memories. However, these patterns can vary between individuals and cultures, making this method unreliable on its own. The lie detector test. The polygraph, commonly known as a lie detector, measures physiological responses like heart rate, blood pressure, breathing rate, and skin conductivity. The theory is that lying causes stress, which triggers these physical changes. During the test, the subject answers a series of questions while connected to sensors. Changes in their physiological responses may indicate deception. However, polygraphs are controversial due to their potential inaccuracy and the possibility of countermeasures. Facial microexpressions. This method involves analyzing brief involuntary facial expressions that occur when a person is trying to conceal their true emotions. Trained observers look for these split-second expressions, which can reveal feelings like fear, anger, or disgust that might indicate lying. While this technique can be useful, it requires extensive training and may not be reliable in all situations. Cognitive interview technique. Developed by psychologists, this method aims to enhance memory recall and detect inconsistencies in statements. It involves asking open-ended questions, encouraging the interviewee to mentally recreate the context of an event, and recounting the event from different perspectives. The technique is based on the principle that lying requires more cognitive effort than truth-telling, making it harder for liars to maintain consistency across multiple retellings. Voice stress analysis. Voice stress analysis attempts to detect deception by measuring stress-induced changes in the voice. The theory is that lying causes subtle variations in vocal patterns, which can be detected by specialized software. This method analyzes factors like frequency, intensity, and rhythm of speech. However, its accuracy is debated, and factors like emotional state or illness can affect results. Behavioral analysis interview. This method involves trained interviewers observing a subject's behavior during questioning. They look for clusters of verbal and nonverbal cues that might indicate deception, such as changes in posture, hand gestures, eye contact, or speech patterns. While this can be effective, it requires skilled interviewers and may be influenced by cultural differences or individual quirks. Statement analysis, also known as scientific content analysis, SCAN. This technique examines the words and structure of written or spoken statements for signs of deception. Analysts look for things like changes in pronoun usage, lack of detail in key areas, or inconsistencies in the narrative. While useful, this method requires careful interpretation and may not be conclusive on its own. Functional magnetic resonance imaging, fMRI. fMRI scans measure brain activity by detecting changes in blood flow. In lie detection, it's used to observe which areas of the brain are active during questioning. The theory is that lying requires more cognitive effort, activating different brain regions than telling the truth. While promising, this method is expensive, requires specialized equipment, and is still being researched for reliability. Thermal imaging. This technique uses heat-detecting cameras to observe changes in facial temperature, particularly around the eyes. The theory is that lying causes increased blood flow to certain areas of the face, resulting in temperature changes. While non-invasive, this method is still being researched and can be affected by environmental factors. Pupilometry. Pupilometry involves measuring changes in pupil size during questioning. The theory is that cognitive effort, such as that required for lying, causes pupil dilation. This method can be combined with eye-tracking technology for more detailed analysis. However, pupil size can be affected by various factors, including lighting and emotional state. Electroencephalography, EEG measures electrical activity in the brain using electrodes placed on the scalp. In lie detection, it's used to look for specific brainwave patterns associated with recognition or deception. One application is the guilty knowledge test, which looks for brain responses to crime-related details that only the perpetrator would know. While promising, EEG-based methods are still being researched and refined. Handwriting analysis. Some claim that handwriting can reveal signs of deception, such as changes in pressure, spacing, or letter formation. However, this method is highly subjective and not scientifically validated for lie detection. It's more commonly used for personality assessment rather than determining truthfulness. Reality monitoring. This cognitive approach focuses on the differences between memories of real experiences and fabricated events. The theory is that true memories contain more sensory details and and contextual information than made-up stories. Analysts look for these differences in statements to assess credibility. While useful, this method requires careful interpretation and may not work for all types of lies. Computer Voice Stress Analyzer, CVSA. Similar to voice stress analysis, CVSA uses a computer to analyze vocal patterns for signs of stress that might indicate deception. It's sometimes used by law enforcement as an alternative to polygraphs. However, its accuracy is debated and it may be affected by factors unrelated to truthfulness. Linguistic Analysis. This method examines language patterns and word choice for indicators of deception. For example, liars might use fewer first-person pronouns, more negative emotion words, or simpler language structures. While this can provide insights, it requires large samples of speech or text and may not be reliable for short statements. P300 Brainwave Test. This neurophysiological method measures a specific brainwave response P300 that occurs when a person recognizes significant information. In lie detection, it's used to determine if a person recognizes crime-related details. While promising, it requires specialized equipment and interpretation. Cognitive load inducement. This technique is based on the idea that lying requires more cognitive effort than truth-telling. Interviewers deliberately increase cognitive load, for example, by asking the subject to tell their story backwards to make lying more difficult and detectable. While this can be effective, it requires skilled interviewers and careful interpretation of responses. Baseline comparison. Many lie detection methods involve establishing a baseline of the subject's normal behavior or responses, then looking for deviations from this baseline during questioning. This can involve observing physical behaviors, speech patterns, or physiological responses. While useful, baseline behaviors can vary due to factors unrelated to deception. Strategic use of evidence. This interviewing technique involves strategically presenting evidence during questioning to observe how the subject responds. Liars may change their story when confronted with evidence, while truth tellers are more likely to maintain consistency. This method requires skilled interviewers and careful planning of the questioning strategy. Automated deception detection. Researchers are developing AI and machine learning algorithms to detect deception in text, speech, or video. These systems analyze multiple factors simultaneously, potentially improving accuracy over single method approaches. However, they are still in development and may face challenges with context interpretation and cultural differences. Truth drugs. Substances like sodium thiopental, sometimes called truth serum, have been used in attempts to extract truthful information. The theory is that these drugs lower inhibitions, making it harder to lie. However, their use is controversial, often illegal, and not scientifically proven to ensure truthful responses. They may cause people to be more talkative, but not necessarily more truthful. Body language analysis. This involves observing nonverbal cues like posture, gestures, and facial expressions for signs of deception. For example, liars might display nervous behaviors or less animated expressions. However, body language can vary greatly between individuals and cultures, making this method unreliable on its own. Layered voice analysis. This computerized method analyzes various aspects of the voice, including pitch, frequency, and intensity, to detect emotional stress that might indicate deception. It's sometimes used in insurance fraud investigations. However, its scientific validity is debated, and it may be influenced by factors unrelated to truthfulness.